I realized that I haven't uploaded anything in a while, and I kind of feel like now is a good time to do so, as I think we just got a complete new meta. And I've been playing an excessive amount of games recently since I'm finally on vacation, and I wanted to go over everything. Now, there is no gameplay that I'm going to be showing, so if you want to put me on your second monitor, if you want to put me in the background while you're playing the game or while you're working on something, that's totally fine with me. Now, the biggest thing to know about this patch is that there is a lot of buffs to one cost units. Because of this, the Pearl King and Evelyn are excessively really good right now. Really good right now. So it's a lot about buffing right now. If you have any decks that cause buffs or are able to give a lot of buffs, such as Alawi Swain is something that I've been enjoying a lot. Bard Garen, incredibly annoying as well. Evelyn's Husk is incredibly annoying. The Pearl King this is a disaster really to play against, and it's really frustrating to play against. You also see the Nidalee buffs because of all the buffs that you're able to put onto a single unit. The reason you're not currently seeing a lot of Nidalees in your games is because a lot of people still haven't bought the whole deck. Now, if you haven't bought all of the Nidalee or the Nico deck, you kind of don't really want to play it. You kind of really want to take a step back, be chill with it. But those are kind of like the decks that are very important right now, and the decks that are kind of like exceeding as of right now. As of today, we are on July the 2nd, 2023. And this patch is kind of just, you know, feeling good, believe it or not. I personally think that this is a really good spot for the deck to be, for the cards to be in. Because you can also still play Jhin Annie as it is, and you're still going to have a good time. You're honestly going to be having a blast playing Rush Aggro. And I think Evelyn, to some extent, you can say is a Rush Aggro. You can also think Aatrox's one cost army is also a really good example. There's so many cards to experiment still, and there's a good reason that Legends of Runeterra doesn't patch as often as, like, let's say TFT or whatnot. The main reason for that is that we're still trying to see all of these cards play into each other, and then we actually see the meta truly develop. As I'm playing the decks, I'm kind of realizing and thinking, like, there's so many cards that this would just do really well with each other, you know, and I'm just really excited to see where it is that we can push the boundaries, or where it is that how far we can really go with this. What deck should you be playing right now? Honestly, Garen Bard probably has the highest win rate right now. Evelyn, really fun to play, and it's a deck that I think a lot of people would have right now. By now, I think my favorite is got to be Shen J4. I love the beauty of that deck being an even numbered deck. This deck is to be played if you're basically on even attack phases, such as like your opponent goes first and then you go second. Beautiful deck. You're going to be playing on evens because you got Shen on 4 and you got J4 on 6. The one you're able to really acknowledge, or really be able to see everything kind of fall into place because you win second, it just feels so amazing and so much priority that it's exciting to keep be fighting with barriers, and it feels so overwhelming to the opponent, and they're just like, what do I do? Now, if you're playing against Shen J4, no, you want to stall them out excessively. If you have stunts in your deck, anything that would really like stall your opponent to be able to get that prio, really important. If you're playing an aggro deck right now, sometimes I'm talking as though everybody's masters, but if you're playing an aggro deck right now, please make sure you are playing the aggressive decisions. If you're playing an aggro deck, if your deck, for example, has a bunch of cards that are worth between the costs of 1 and 4, you are playing aggressively and you're playing to win the game as fast as possible. Do not play safe. Do not play timid. If you have a card that you can play, usually in most cases, you're playing him. On the other hand, if you're playing Shen J4, you're playing Alawi Swain or whatnot, as of right now, it is okay to stall out the cards. If you have, let's say, 3-4 mana that's going to be wasted because you already have 3 in your mana gems, give it up. Like, it's okay, give up that mana. You're gonna hold on to the cards that you have right now, and it's just the type of the meta that we're playing in right now, that it's okay to hold on to certain cards because they're not valuable or they're not useful in that specific situation. If you play a card that, you know, you're gonna lose value by playing it this turn, you can think about cards like Garen, where if you play him on a turn that you're defending and you know your opponent's gonna end up defending, just hold on to Garen. You're going to miss out on 2-3 mana, but you know what, like I'm gonna hold on to that Garen 1+1+1, and I'm gonna be able to benefit on. On the other hand, if you're playing Kel, Kel can be played at any turn, and those +1+1 buffs are going to be able to transition onto other turns. So it's very important to understand what it is that you're playing and how it is that you want to play it. Do not play safe if you're playing Annie Jhin. You're really playing aggressively. If you have Annie in your hand and you're in turn 1 and you're thinking like, what if my opponent has Quietus and he's just going to play a spell and kill Annie? It is okay. It really is. Like, your Annie is meant to be played as soon as possible. Your Annie is meant to be played on either turn 1, 2, 3. If you're not playing it by those turns and you had Annie from the very beginning, you're honestly handicapping yourself, because since you're playing an aggro deck, a lot of those cards are going to be wasted, and a lot of those cards you're going to be playing over and over and over again. Annie is not going to be able to level up, even if you play her late. You play her like on turn 4. If you play Annie on turn 4, you have like 2 or 3 cards in your hand at that point. And if you have only 2 or 3 cards in your hand at that point, you're not going to level up Annie as fast as you'd want to. And because you're not able to level up Annie, if they have another spell, if they have another challenger, if they give you Annie vulnerable, like, it's just really easy to deal with her in any stage of the game, that you want to play her early. You really do. I think if you're playing Jhin, on the other hand, there is a huge learning curve. I tried playing Annie Jhin recently, and I hadn't been playing it in like a long time. And there is so much of a learning curve of like timings in your attack. Since you're playing an aggro deck, you're likely playing a lot of cards or a lot of attackers that are 2/1s, 3/2s, or 1/2s, right? Because of that, you want to always be paying attention to when skills are going to be proccing and when Jin's passives is going to be activated. Pay attention to that, and that's very important to how you're playing as of right now. Like I said, we are on this current patch, and you're supposed to be playing based off of what is good and how you should be playing things on this certain patch. If you're watching this late, or if you're thinking about like, okay, but like, you know, should I still be doing this? You should be thinking like, okay, in this specific meta, in this specific situation of what my opponent has right now, can I win? Can I do this? Always think about it in that way. Always consider what it is that you can do to deal with your opponent's next card. I usually try not to think too far ahead, 2-3 cards ahead, simply because sometimes your opponent's gonna play something or you are gonna play something that's gonna change the whole board. But if you can think at least 1 card ahead of what your opponent can possibly play, you're in a good position. You can think about cards like Fizz or Samira, right? Samira, on the other hand, she is an aggro card. She kind of not as good as like Annie Jhin right now, right? She's still very valuable, and I think there's some decks that you still have 55% win rates on. But for Samira, very different than Annie for sure, because Samira does not require the level up the same way that Annie does necessarily, because Annie's based on skills and spells. Samira's played based on cards played. You want to play Samira in a position where you know she won't be killed. You want to play Samira in a position where you know that you have cards to protect her, or you know that your opponent does not have cards to get rid of them. If you're trying to play a card that you want to have long term, or you want to hold out on, or you want your opponent to play not deal with it, you usually want to play high priority cards that your opponent has reason to get rid of, right? So if you want to play Samira, you play another like S tier card, and your opponent now has to get rid of that card first, and they have to get rid of that card. And then after that card is gotten rid of, or if that card is not getting rid of, you can also get like a huge hint that like you can just play Samira, like just put her in there, right? But that's kind of like the state of the meta right now. I think there's a lot of valuable cards, and I mean, after mentioning all the cards that I just mentioned, you can kind of see that there's so many opportunities and so many things that you can be playing. And I highly recommend you to try out as many decks that you are able to do so. But don't limit yourself right now, because the meta is just really fun to play so many different things, and usually we don't have this opportunity. So now's the perfect time to really, you know, enjoy yourself with as many compositions as you would want to. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the state of the meta, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that.